Welcome, everybody, to another episode of Real Life Matters. Before we start the episode, if you could please just go and subscribe to the YouTube channel, DBoss Networks. You can follow me on all the other social medias. But today, it's all about the sunset. And we are in the sunset. And that's the most beautiful time of the day, is watching the sunset. But we have a lady that's going to be coming on today, and she's going to be talking. She's an author, and she's probably been doing this for a little bit. But anyways, with no other further ado, I'm going to introduce to you the author, Victoria West.
Hello, everyone.
Hi, how are you?
I'm good, thank you. How are you?
Good. West, that's a famous last name there.
And pretty common too.
Yes. At least nobody has no problems, spelling your name or knowing where it is, right?
It's true. Yes.
So, Victoria, can you tell everybody where you come from and what's your background?
Well, so I come from Eastern Europe. I moved to Canada 16 years ago. At the time, I came with my husband, and our son was born in the city of Toronto 3 years later. I started writing first about fashion in 2010, and I focused my writing on fashion in Toronto. And I'm talking about the Toronto fashion scene, like Toronto Fashion Week, designer collections, meeting and interviewing designers and various personalities in the fashion world from the fashion scene. TIFF and covering all the events related to TIFF, collection launches, jewelry, clothing collections, and all of that. So I did that for 10 years.
So you worked with TIFF, and you did Fashion Week. So how was your experience with that?
Well, it was great. It was so exciting and glamorous. What can I say? I really enjoyed that part.
So did you have to get dressed up?
I had the opportunity. I'm sorry?
Did you get dressed up?
Yes, I did, of course. So the Toronto Fashion Week was truly the place in the city of Toronto where you could do absolutely crazy and no one would say a word. No one would say anything bad about that. So you could really, really go your full, your imagination, your creativity. You could do anything. It was the appropriate place to do that. So people did. I did. Some more eccentric than others. Then it was always a true feast to watch. Like fashion was truly fashion there during Toronto.
So what kind of articles and did you write about with the fashion? What's in, or what did you write, or who's wearing what?
So in 2010, I created the blog fashion, style, beauty, and more.blogspot.com, which later became victoriawest.net. And yes, I was watching the new collections, the new trends, and I was writing about that. I was attending the events, and after that, writing about what I have seen at those events, including Toronto Fashion Week and many other events in the city festival.
So then that's what you would do with your blogs about then?
Yes, that's right. So I would go to a fashion event, and sometimes I would take pictures. Sometimes I would use pictures taken by other renowned photographers in Toronto and crediting them. And I would, my blog post would be about those events and many other fashion-related topics. That's right.
Oh, so so because we're getting to know Victoria West. Who's Victoria West? I guess you're in Toronto, so now we're getting to see who Victoria West is. You did fashion. That's a big thing to do the fashion, because you got to remember all those words and all the appropriate what's called what, couture, and all these things.
It's true. Yes.
I get the designers' names correct too. So you have to get all their spelling and stuff, because sometimes they call things, and what you might think is something as a culotte, maybe that's not a culotte. Maybe they're calling it something different. So you had to make sure to be very specific in that area, correct?
And it was also well researched, so I never took it lightly. I always researched my articles properly. I didn't just write out of the blue, let's say that way. So
Okay.
it was important for me as an author, as a blogger, to properly research my pieces before I publish anything. And
Okay.
there were also a lot of collaborations with various professionals on the fashion scene. So it was also important to them. I mean, it's an elementary sign of respect if you research your piece before publishing it, when especially when you're working together with other people, and
Right.
they are providing the information, and your role is to relate, to deliver it to the public. So yes, that part was also an important part of my writing about fashion.
Right. So now you brought forward a book. Author, you're an author of The Sunset in Toronto and its poems. So tell us a little bit about that.
Well, so I wrote about fashion for 10 years, between 2010 and 2020. And meanwhile, I also published my first book, which also was about fashion. I'm going to show it to you.
Oh, show me that one,
Yeah.
Joe. Talk about that. We're going to step back a minute. Bits of Fashion.
Bits of Fashion. So this was my first book. I published it in 2013, and it is a collection of essays and interviews. If you can see, maybe so.
Yes.
Properly. So the subtitle is Stories, Interviews, Reviews. So it's a collection of essays and interviews from the fashion scene. So I had put together in this book some of my best fashion pieces that I had written by that time. So we're talking about 2013, and I put together this book. So
wow, I like the color of it. It's a nice pink. I like that.
Yeah, thank you. So I continued writing about fashion up until 2020, and then guess what? Corona happened.
Yes. Well, we know.
So what happened to me, and it happened the same to many other people, I started working from home. So I literally worked from home for the past 2 years, and I spent a lot of time at home. The fashion scene in Toronto kind of went very quiet. I no longer attended any substantial fashion events in Toronto in the past 2 years. So I turned my attention to poetry. I first started reading poetry, and then it inspired me to start writing poetry myself. So hence the book Sunset in Toronto. It took me 1 year to write it.
1 year?
Yes, 1 year. It has 100 poems. So the 1 year, I started in fall 2020, in September 2020, when I wrote the first poem, and I finished the manuscript in August 2021.
So what made you come up with the title Sunset in Toronto?
So it was not an immediate decision to call it like that.
Okay.
So I first wrote a few of the poems, maybe 30. Maybe about 30 poems I was into the book. And then one afternoon, actually, in December 2020, I went grocery shopping, and I was driving and listening to the radio in the car before I arrived at the supermarket for my grocery shopping. And I heard the radio host saying, if you can look on the window to the west right now, and you will see this gorgeous sunset. So when I arrive actually at the supermarket, I parked my car, and I did look to the west to see the most astonishing and gorgeous sunset that I have seen in years.
Right.
And I stopped for a moment. I just took it in for a few minutes, and I took some pictures of that sunset. Then I went in, I did my grocery shopping. After that, later that evening, I posted some of these pictures on my social media. And then probably a few days later, that sunset inspired me to write my next poem for the book Sunset in Toronto. And then sometime later, I decided that I would like to make this poem the title poem. So this is how the book was called Sunset.
So can you read us a little bit of the poem?
Yes, I can.
Oh, we're getting the poetry at its best by Victoria West.
It's not very long, so I'll read the entire poem.
All right.
Just give me a second. Sunset in Toronto. 5 p.m. I go to grocery shopping. I listen to the radio in my car. The radio host says, "Look at the window to the west." And I do. I am mesmerized. I see the most astonishing sunset in the city of Toronto ever. It is breathtaking. The sky is on fire. I park the car in the parking lot at the supermarket. I take pictures. I capture the gorgeous sunset. When I'm done with the grocery shopping, I post the picture with the phenomenal sunset on my social media. The picture is unfiltered. It shows its raw and genuine beauty. Then I scroll my social media feed, Facebook, Instagram, the likes. The sunset is the topic of the day. Dozens and dozens of pictures of the fiery sunset in the city of Toronto. This is a sunset to remember. Torontonians will remember. And that sunset happened on December 10th, 2020.
Wow. So you have another poem in there?
I also used that picture that I took that night to create the cover of my book.
Okay. Wow. That's beautiful.
And this was the sunset that inspired this poem and became the title of the book.
All right. So get another poem. Let's hear another one. We're not gonna have you read out the book or anything. We just want something else that you do.
Something else. Okay, sure.
Mm-hmm.
The photo parties. I used to have photo parties in my pre-Facebook days. When my friends and I traveled, we used to gather at a party and the traveler would share the pictures from the trip. When I came back from my trip to Paris, I threw a photo party at my place on a Saturday night. My friends came over, I connected my computer to a big screen, and I showed off my Paris pictures over a glass of wine. We talked, we had a couple of drinks, we looked at the pictures. I gabbed about all the places that I saw in Paris while browsing through hundreds of pictures. My party favors to my friends were souvenirs from Paris. When my friends returned from their trip to Central America, they threw a photo party at their place. The mountains, the ocean, the beach, the ancient monuments, we all gathered in my friend's living room for drinks, for souvenirs, and for photo browsing. The photo parties from trips and vacations were a great excuse for us to spend an entertaining Saturday night together and feel connected, stay close, talk to each other. We were looking forward to the photo parties just as much as the dinner or birthday parties. We no longer throw photo parties in our Facebook days. When I came back from my Caribbean trip, I dumped my vacation photos on Facebook and all my friends liked them. Some of them left comments. Nice! Looks like you had a great time. Yes, I did have a great time. But I didn't throw a photo party for my Caribbean vacation upon my return anymore. Instead of throwing a photo party, we now post our vacation photos on Facebook and all our friends can see and like them at once. Facebook replaced our photo parties. It also replaced our great Saturday nights, our getting together, feeling connected, staying close, talking to each other. I miss my photo parties from the pre-Facebook days. I miss the days when it was appropriate to invite your friends over to show them your vacation photos from places around the world.
So where did you go for the Caribbean? I want to ask you.
To Cuba.
Woo! I've been there.
Yes.
Wow. So you had a good time?
I did. Yes, I did. Yes.
So all your poems are is life experiences related to you, correct?
It's true. Almost. Maybe not all of them, not all 100 of them, but most of them, yes. For the most part, they are.
So is there anything about you as when you were growing up in eastern part of Europe that you put in there or no?
Yes, well, not necessarily specifically to the geography, but to my childhood, yes.
Okay. Because that's always good. You put something related to yourself, right?
That's right, yes.
And you had the wine. I like how you put the wine in. That's good. Your friends, they put the wine in. So, so what are you going to be working on next? Are you working on another book or?
Yes. So, for now, uh, I am focusing my energy on two things:
Okay.
on uh, promoting the book and share the word about it, and also I have started with some new poems for my next book. It's still very early and it's still in an incipient stage, but yeah, I have some ideas. And a short while ago, I was still thinking, uh, how do I want my next book to be like, and I was still deciding um, how to choose my next book and what I should do for my next book, whether it should be poetry or maybe short stories. So at this point, I think I want my next book to be still poems, and I have started writing some of them. I probably have about 10 so far.
Ooh,
So
you
it's
got
work
10
in
already.
progress, and it's still very early. So I don't want to go too deep into that yet. It's still
Okay.
early, but yeah, I am working on something.
Okay. So you don't have your cover title yet.
Oh no, I don't have neither
Woo!
the cover nor the title, not yet. No, no.
Maybe you'll get the moon and the sun, and the moon, the moonlight.
Yes.
So, so when you, I know you said you came from your background of, you were doing TIFF and you did different places and you wrote, right? But so when did you know in your mind that you could actually do this right?
So a long time ago. So my back in 2010,
Okay.
I came up with the idea to start a fashion blog because I had these two passions, fashion and writing. So I combined them in one.
Mm-hmm.
When I created my fashion blog, first time I probably knew that I would like to write back in before I even came to Canada. So I was in my early 20s. At the time, I lived in
Wow.
Romania, and I had, let's say, a spark
Okay.
that made me think that this is something that I would like to do. Um, uh, at the time, I also had the habit of writing letters to a couple of pen pals. I had a few pen pals at the
Oh,
time
okay.
when people were still writing letters.
Oh, yes.
Yes, so I
Well,
had
you
a
have
couple
the
of
right
pen
details.
pals,
It's almost the same.
and the writing was kind of a constant exercise for me, and the letters was one of the forms that I was writing in. um, my mother was aware about my style of writing, and some of my friends were always also aware of that, of how I write, so they encouraged me to start writing. And I did try to start a collaboration with the local newspaper, but
Okay.
unfortunately I wasn't successful. And that refusal, that time when I was rejected,
It made you more strength.
discouraged me. So I didn't try after that at all for the next 8 years.
Oh my
So there was
God.
one attempt that unfortunately discouraged me to try again. And we're talking about 2002, when the internet wasn't as handy as it is now.
Okay.
So most of the newspapers weren't doing the online versions yet. They still were newspapers, like as in paper only,
Right.
as of yet. So I didn't feel that I can be as connected to the media or to various media outlet as I could do it now if I were to start now. So it
Wow.
wasn't the same.
Well, you
Media.
started at a good time. Everybody was in the house, and you just said, you know what, I'm going to do something, and you did it.
Yes. So for the next 8 years, I didn't try anything. in terms of writing. But then in 2010, when I was on maternity leave with my son, he had been born a few months earlier. So he was just 5 months old at the time. I was on maternity leave at home. And this is when I came back to the idea, hey, wait a second, look. So all these years ago, I wanted to do this. So now it's actually a good time to do this. So how about I try it again? And now I have more tools at my disposal than I did 8 years ago.
Right.
So this is when I started writing, and I created my fashion blog, and then I never stopped since then.
So where can people get this book at if they want the 2 books? If you could show them up, the 2 books.
Yes.
Where can they get them?
So they are available on Amazon.
Mm-hmm.
My first book, Bits of Fashion, and my second book, Sunset in Toronto. Both of them are available on Amazon.
Okay.
In all countries where Amazon is available.
Right.
And just search Victoria West Sunset in Toronto or Victoria West Bits of Fashion in all departments or books specifically. Both of them are available in Kindle and paper.
Okay.
In print editions.
Yes.
So if you search, they easily come up. So this is how people can find them.
And what's your social medias and stuff?
My Instagram is Victoria_. So Victoria West and books with underscores in between the words.
Okay.
And that's for Instagram. And for Facebook, I have a Facebook page which is called Writer Victoria West. So it can be found on Facebook. If you search Writer Victoria West, it will come up.
Yeah, everything will come up.
Yes.
Oh my gosh. Well, Victoria, it was so interesting to hear how you got inspired to write your poems, and you just, put everything together. And then you even though you got rejected and you stopped it for 8 years, and you came back during the pandemic, and you just did it. You just knocked it right out the court. So I'm very glad you came here. And with your next book, you need to come back on.
I will be happy to do so. Absolutely.
Yes. You got to come back on again. So you show us your book, because we're really happy to see, everybody, we represent all cultures, everybody, and this is Real Life Matters, and your matter is your books. So I do want to thank you, Victoria West, for coming on today and being our guest tonight. So I do want to thank all the viewers tonight for watching Real Life Matters. So everybody, good night and bye for now.
Thank you. Good night.